Hey everyone, this is Nitro. In this video, I thought I would review some of the Apex Arena matches I've had over this weekend. Now, before I begin, I just want to ask you guys, do you guys feel that I should live stream my Apex Arena battles, or should I review the more interesting ones? Live streaming would show all the battles, but because of the time that people take to do their turns, it would be a much longer video. So just let me know in the comments below whether you would prefer these kind of review videos or a live stream. In any case, this video will cover 4 of the matches that I've had in Apex Arena this weekend, and I think in total I actually did around 18. Okay, so let's begin with the first one, which shows that Omegalulz continues to be quite powerful in Apex Arena. Alright, so here, Illustrial is banned on my side, and I choose to ban the enemy tank, which in this case was a choice between Landius or Juggler, and I chose to ban Landius. So I play my Juggler, and now I lose Zerda and Listel after Illustrial. And Rimkute plays Juggler as well. And I then ban his Zerda and Listel and play Hiei to start. Okay. So now Luna and Iris are banned, characters who can increase Hiei's mobility. And Rimkute plays Yulia. And then Luna and Hiei are banned now. I'm pretty much doing pretty similar bans overall, right? We're getting rid of high mobility buffers, stuff like that. But now here, since he didn't ban my Landius, I've played Landius, so I have 2 tanks. I now lose Liana and Waller, which removes basically all 3 of my traditional healers, right? Liana, Waller, and Iris. And Rimkute plays Tiaris. So now he does have Yulia for healing as well as Tiaris for healing. Alright, so now I ban more damage dealers, Shjzuka and Leonhard, and I choose to play Deedlit, who is the final character I have that can provide healing. Shjzuka and Bozel are now banned, leaving me Deedlit or Omega. And Rimkute plays Bozel now. So he's going for an AoE assault strategy while having healing for his tanks. So I now ban his final 2 healers, Liana and Waller, even though he still has Rachel and Iris, right? But I did want to get rid of the act again and the healing before combat. And finally, I play Omega, out of the choice between Omega and Deedlit. And on his side, he plays Rachel as a damage dealer. So, initial movements as usual, moving forward, pretty standard. The one thing I should mention here is, because of the factions of my characters, right, I chose to bring the faction buff on Juggler instead of B-Shock. So that way Deedlit has a faction buff and Hiei has a faction buff. Right? So the only character who doesn't have a faction buff in my party is Omega. And on his side, right, he actually didn't bring a faction buff on Juggler. So actually, he is completely lacking faction buffs. Right? There is Gospel on Rachel, but that's basically it. So let's continue. And Gospel on Rachel is used. So I Gospel up my Omega. And faction buff with Juggler, so that Hiei and Deedlit are now buffed. On his side, he chooses to attack Blessing Yulia. So next is to just maneuver a little bit forward, peace of mind, and I'm just outside of range, as much as I can anyways. And just maneuvering a little bit forward. So now, Rimkute uses Sacred Beast Helm to melee assault my party. My Juggler's healing basically heals everyone to full, and I Sea of Miracles here. I made a mistake there, okay? For some reason, I actually thought that Deedlit would trigger her act again here, but it didn't. So what I really should have done was moved Omega first, then Sea of Miracles. So that was a really careless mistake on my part. Right. As a result, Deedlit could not attack. Nonetheless, I have Omega, use Cold Blood, and that actually allows Omega to break out of the range of this juggler. So that really should have been what I've done first. Had Omega Cold Blood, attack juggler, then follow up with Deedlit. Regardless, actions have been done. So for now, I just activate the buffs that I can. So now I Gospel up with Deedlit, act again, and an Elven Aura juggler. Interestingly enough, this 2-range juggler, the 2-range attack from Deedlit did not kill this juggler. Okay, and a huge part of that was also because I did it at 2 range, right? I should have attacked in melee range on this juggler, but I attacked at 2 range instead. So that really cost me damage, and as a result, juggler lived. It is what it is. Actually, I just want to take a quick look. Does the other factor to this was that juggler does have the damage taken is reduced by 15%. So the combination of those two factors really made this juggler live. Nonetheless, it's okay. Yulia now comes charging forward with Godly Menace, strikes my Landius, but due to lack of faction buff, my Landius is not killed. Although, he did get massive amounts of healing. So I now choose to teleport my juggler forward and hit these 3 with AoE. Rachel gets healing, but the main point of this hit was that with that Sacred Beast Hymn, none of them can move. So they can't move up and, for example, attack my Landius or anything like that. So, I make a mistake here. I attack Yulia with Omega, thinking that I could act with PA afterwards. Instead, I forgot that... What I totally forgot was that Yulia, her Godly Menace, will make it so that enemies within 2 blocks of her get mobility -3 and cannot guard. So my thought was that Landius would guard Hiei, but I forgot about the Godly Menace part. I knew that Juggler would apply cannot guard on characters next to him, but I completely forgot about Yulia doing the same thing. So I lost my Hiei without him ever getting to attack, which is a real shame. I really should have AoE'd with Hiei, act again, and then launch a strike on Yulia. So, regardless, what's done is done, so battle continues. And fortunately for me, he chose to use Rachel's Arcane Blast, which actually provided healing to my Landius as a result. It did damage Juggler though, but more importantly for me, Landius was healed. So here, I now have Omega attack and finish off Yulia. Now, what I did there was I knew that Juggler could Beast Shock, I think, right? So rather than facing the Beast Shock, and I was worried because Juggler could have probably moved up here, used Beast Shock, and then struck one of my other characters other than Landius. So that's why I didn't leave my Omega here. Instead, I moved him forward, so he was closer to the enemies that I wanted to attack. Meanwhile, Landius reactivates his faction buff, and he heals because of Deedlit, right? Deedlit's Elven Aura, providing the 30% heal after action. So, even though I don't have an actual healer, Deedlit is really taking the role of a healer. So now, Bozal gets to act and uses Earthquake, which hits my whole party. But because it hit my whole party, Juggler once again provides healing. Now this is where it gets a little bit interesting, because cannot be healed was applied onto my Omega. So unfortunately, he could not benefit from the Elven Aura effect when he used Cold Blood here. You can see that my Omega lost a lot of the Elven Snipers, although he himself is at good health. So nonetheless, right? So let's... Oops. I pressed forward a few times. So now I have Omega attack Bozal, but with the damaged soldiers and without being able to get healed by Deedlit's Elven Aura, I did not do enough damage to kill Bozal, unfortunately. So Bozal lived. Rachel now attacks and kills off my Juggler, so it's now 3 against 4. Pretty far behind it now. Deedlit charges forward, attacking Bozal, but Bozal still lives, right? Keep in mind Deedlit ultimately is a magic attacker, and since Bozal has very, very high magic defense, he tanked that hit. I actually thought that Deedlit would be able to kill this damaged Bozal, but didn't work out that way. And now TRS heals Bozal up back to full health. And this is where it actually gets kind of interesting. Okay. So for now, peace of mind. And without realizing it, my Landius actually cannot receive buffs. So peace of mind didn't even activate. So Bozal, single target strikes my Deedlit. And Juggler tries to attack her, but really doesn't do that much damage. So now, Omega is now attacking a full hit point Bozal, and look at that, one-shotted. There was no faction buff, but because Bozal was at full hit points, this meant that the Dark Elf snipers actually got the 45% attack increase, and that allowed Omega to one-shot Bozal. So now suddenly it's 3v3. Rachel kills off my Deedlit. Now it's 2 versus 3. So I'm still behind right now. And now, Omega activates Cold Blood, strikes Rachel, and one-shots her. Once again, this Omega one-shotting things even without a faction buff. Because he does have Deadly, he does have Surprise Attack, and Cold Blood, as long as you crit hit, does trigger a 15% increased crit damage effect. So Omega one-shots another full hit point target. In this case, it was Rachel. So now it's 2v2. Juggler moves up, activates Triton. And I just continue to just hold back for now. And Tiaris moves up to block some tiles, some mobility. So, he has Juggler attack my Landius to do some damage while Healing Light triggers. And now Omega launches his range attack on Tiaris and one-shots her. So, Omega continuing to one-shot everything. He one-shotted Bozal, one-shotted Rachel, and now one-shotted Tiaris. And with that, the battle's over. So it just shows a well-built Omega, even without a faction buffs, can still do ridiculous amounts of damage as long as he's the 6-star Omega. And with that, that battle was won. So that was the first, I guess, interesting battle. It's very interesting because in that battle as well, earlier on in the match, Omega failed to one-shot a damaged Bozal. But with the full hit point Bozal, Omega one-shotted it. So it just shows how much damage those Elven snipers can do as long as they're fighting full hit point enemies. So that was the first match, which shows Omegalulz continues to be ridiculous. The second match will be just a match to show why it's important to get really, really powerful enchants on your characters in general. So for this particular match, my pick ban strategy is now, for the first ban, I'm getting rid of one of the enemy tanks. And once again, here I get rid of the enemy Landius, and I lose my juggler this time. So my opponent plays juggler, and so I ban Zerda and Listel, while I play Landius myself. Okay. Next, I lose Listel and Zerda as well, and my opponent plays Claret. So I ban Tiaris and Iris, both characters who can increase the damage of the opponent. And now I play Yusuke. So Wyler and Lustral are now banned. And my opponent plays Liana. Okay. So Luna and Deedlit banned, and I get to play Hiei. So I now have a faction buff for both Yusuke and Hiei, and Landius as my tank. And I now lose 2 more healers, Liana and Deedlit, which now just leaves me Iris as my healer. So opponent plays Yusuke, and I ban Mystery Knight and Rachel now at this point, leaving him Bozel and Wyler. Right. Wyler because I don't really mind if he has 2 healers, Bozel because I felt Bozel was less of a threat since I have Hiei as for assassinations. So now I play Iris, my sole remaining healer, and Omega and Bozel are now banned, right? Leaving me Diharto or Luna. So opponent plays Wyler rather than Bozel, right? Probably trying to avoid my assassins, and so since there's no Bozel, I chose to play Luna instead. Demon Domination. And I had Yusuke do the same thing. In the meantime, I'm just activating buffs. And he already uses high stakes. So he is triggering Claret, basically, right, for attacking. Because I had Yusuke in range. So Act Again is used to heal up his Wyler. And at this point, I dolly. This was actually a mistake as a side note. Yeah. I was just not playing very well, frankly speaking. But somehow I accidentally brought Dolly instead of Le Jardin de Iris on my Iris. So big mistake. I chose the wrong skill. So I could not. What I wanted to do was to teleport Yusuke out of range of Claret, but I couldn't do so. Nonetheless, battle continues. And now Claret is strengthened as well. So now she has strengthened, and she has the heal before combat begins. And so I just shift my Yusuke out of range. Okay. And I was able to shift out of range because my opponent had used Liana's Act Again last turn. So that shift made it impossible for Claret to attack me now, which was a nice bonus. In the meantime, I just trigger Peace of Mind on Landius to guard my characters. And now I'm shielding Landius. So, the reason I brought Shield is simple. Shield provides immunity to healing negation debuffs, and my opponent had Yusuke, whose Dark Tinker will apply cannot receive healing for 2 turns if your character is not killed. So that's why I brought Shield. Okay. In the meantime, he now activates Gospel on Juggler. And I get to act first again, so I run Landius back. So his triggering of Act Again on turn 1, giving me the first action, is allowing me to counter him pretty well. And now Claret comes charging in. The first attack does not kill my Landius. Act Again. Second attack. But keep in mind the second attack has 50% reduced damage. And my Landius actually tanks it with his 944 defense and his high hit points. In fact, he tanked it so well, he still had 3,767 hit points. So it just shows this. Keep in mind though, the second attack no longer had the strengthen buff too. So Claret could not kill my Landius with 2 strikes. So that makes it easy for me to kill off the enemy Claret. And down she goes. So Juggler now teleports forward, Sacred Beast him, AoE damage, but my Landius survives with 322 hit points. Okay, so the combination of the high defense, 944, and high hit points let my Landius survive. Barely, 322 hit points, but he lived. And so, I still have not actually triggered Landius' revival yet. However, Dark Tinker was able to attack my Hiei. And that was... the reason for that was because I didn't even realize, but my Landius actually had cannot use passive skills applied onto him. So that was from the enemy Claret. So having this... so with that debuff, if I had actually paid attention and known that was on it, I would have moved Iris first to heal Landius. You know? But didn't really realize, so I didn't heal my Landius, and so Hiei got killed as a result. Right? So that was a pretty careless mistake. Okay. Honestly speaking, rather than killing, like, I mean, I had to kill Claret because I knew Juggler was going to teleport forward, right? So this move by Yusuke had to be done before Juggler teleported forward to guard. Okay, but this next action, right, of ending Hiei's turn instead of healing Landius was a big mistake. So as a result, it's still even, although my Yusuke now got healing and activates the anger buff. Okay. And now, after the fact, I heal up Landius. And here, Luna moves up, uses Raging Thunder to attack Yusuke, but Last Rites makes it so I don't do enough damage. Even though I don't have enough damage though, I did apply Cannot Be Healed onto this Yusuke, right, via the Cursed Lens. So he gets pulled to safety by Wilder's Tactical Retreat. And he had to do that because I'm acting first right now, right? Since he used Act Again on turn 1. So he had to pull Yusuke to safety so that Luna couldn't finish him off. In some ways, I also made a mistake there too. If I had placed Luna here, right, after the attack due to move again, if I had attacked, then moved again forward here, then Luna could still move 5 tiles to attack this Yusuke. But I couldn't, so for now, they're in safety and I can't take care of it. So I just hang back and start focusing strikes on to Juggler. So I start with a regular strike from Yusuke. And my opponent uses Beast Shock, which once again fails to kill off my Landius. Look at that. So once again, Landius with his extremely high defense and high hit points tanked the hit from this Juggler. Beast mode Landius, basically. And then here, I have Luna strike Juggler to weaken him further. And I focus on, once again, trying to heal up. Actually, what did I do there? Oh, there I used Guard on Landius. Okay? Because this Yusuke is charging forward. And I know this Yusuke can use Dark Tinker. So rather than healing, I applied Cannot Be Healed. Or rather than healing Landius, I first applied Guard onto him. And the next step, of course, is to actually provide healing to Landius. So, he now gets attacked by Dark Tinker, and once again, tanks the hit. Okay. And Dark Tinker does not apply the cannot be healed debuff on my Landius because he's immune to it. So, survived that one very nicely, and he acts to heal himself up a bit. And at this point, I have Yusuke, Dark Tinker, and finish off Juggler. In the meantime, I just hang back, start buffing up my characters. But I was not able to actually move Luna to safety. And so Yusuke easily finishes her off. Right? Because Landius could not guard. Since he had his peace of mind had worn off. No big deal though. Back to 3v3. I have Landius move forward first. Iris healing, keeping him relatively healthy. And next, Yusuke, faction buffing. My opponent uses Act again on his Yusuke. So for now, I have Iris dolly once more to heal. So, enemy Yusuke, Demon Domination. And here, I start with Landius melee attacking the enemy Waller. Not enough damage to kill though. So he gets the opportunity to heal up Waller. Next, I reactivate the shields on Landius. And the enemy uses Psychic Eruption on his Landius. And so I choose to attack the enemy Yusuke at 3 range. And that's because I knew that Waller no longer had any healing skills available to him, right? Since this Waller brought high stakes Tactical Retreat and Strengthen, he had already used Tactical Retreat earlier. And Strengthen doesn't heal, so, and high stakes was also used early on. So now, with that attack, I was able to finish off the Yusuke and come out on top. Since he no longer has any way to damage me really, he finally gives up. So it just shows how a very tanky Landius can actually win you matches. You know, I rolled very, very heavily for defense and hit points on my Landius, so that's why that worked out. Okay. So that was the second battle. For the third battle, let me see. So that was purely won by my tank being ridiculously tough. Long story short, right? He survived 2 Claret attacks, he survived Juggler's AoE, you know, he could survive the Yusuke hits, you know. That was purely a stat win. The next battle is going to show Deedlit in use. Okay. So we saw earlier Deedlit being incredibly strong with the Elven Aura healing, right? And for this battle, I choose to once again ban enemy tanks first, and here I chose to ban the enemy Estelle rather than Juggler, because I didn't want him to get +1 mobility for his whole party. So I lose Juggler, and enemy plays Juggler. So Zerda and Sakura now are my next 2 bans, and I choose to play Landius. I now lose Lestel and Waller. Now, a lot of people are banning my Waller because he is a really, really good healer. And my opponent plays Deedlit. So Luna and Hiei are now banned, and I play Zerda. So now I lose Omega and Hiei, characters who can get faction buffed by Zerda. And my opponent plays Tiaris. So now I ban Rene and Bozo, AoE strikers. And I choose to play my Bozo. Next up, Liana and Iris are banned on my side, and my opponent plays Matthew. So I wasn't sure what to ban at that point. You know, I could have banned heal, but I felt that getting rid of the attackers was more important. allowing him to bring more healers is okay, because he doesn't have very many strikers. So got rid of Shuri and Leon, leaving him Iris and Liana, while I play Deedlit now at this point. Since I lost all 3 of my healers, Deedlit could act as a semi-healer. So finally I lose Luna and Yusuke. My opponent plays Liana, and I choose to play Illustrial. So initial maneuvering, as usual. And he starts with the faction buff. So, one thing is, this Matthew has Air Slash, Scans of Light, and Sprint. Okay. It did not bring Sword of Destruction. Interesting point. And right now, very early on, he's already using Act Again on Juggler. So I move my Zerda forward and have her activate Bloodthirster. And the enemy Juggler actually ends up retreating rather than moving up. I thought it was going to charge forward and AoE me, it didn't do so. So for now, at Deedlit, Gospel up Illustrial. I really am lacking faction buffs this time around, right? But what I have done is Bozel brought a faction buff to buff up Zerda, and Zerda went into her Bloodthirster form. So Bozel has faction buff, Black Hole, and Sleep. Illustrial has the usual setup. Landius has his usual setup, and Illustrial has her usual setup: Roundabout, Emerald Crusher, and Onrush. So I'm pushing very aggressively at this point, and have Landius charge up and activate his guard skill. Right? But I did make sure that I was outside of. I actually put myself into Juggler's Sacred Beast Hymn range. Right? He could move forward and then AoE attack to here. But he hasn't done so. So I continue to just hold back with my characters as a result. And there is the Sacred Beast Hymn that I mentioned. Right next to my Juggler. Or right next to my Landius. So now I have Deedlit, Elven Aura attack, the enemy Juggler. But it doesn't do that enough damage because my Deedlit did not have a faction buff. My opponent then uses Elven Aura on me at 2 range. And it doesn't kill my Deedlit. Okay. So it just shows 2 range attacks from Deedlit do very, very little damage. Okay. And I think a huge part of that, what happened there, was that both the unicorns and Deedlit both chose to attack my unicorns. So it wasted most of Deedlit's strikes, and thus not very much damage went into my Deedlit herself. If this Deedlit was able to attack at this tile, melee attack, I probably would have lost my Deedlit. So because that happened, I had Illustrial attack the enemy Deedlit, and I was able to kill it off, just like that. So now I activate Sea of Miracles to heal up my characters, act again on my Deedlit, and once again she heals up some more. So my Deedlit surviving the enemy Deedlit gave me a massive advantage at this point. It's now 5 against 4, and he only has 1 attacker now, which is Matthew. So I had Illustrial running forward to attack, and I made a mistake there. I thought I could ignore guard. This was another careless mistake. Right? But the ignore guard strikes need you to be on either grassland, forest tiles, or mountain tiles. right? Since I was on the path tile, it instead ended up hitting the enemy juggler. So this allowed the enemy Matthew to kill off my juggler in one shot with Air Slash. Nonetheless, I'm okay with that because I can have Zerda Bloodthirster attack the enemy Matthew, one shot him, and then retreat back. So I'm still, even though I lost a character, I'm still leading by a character. And now Zerosaki has lost all his damage dealers. So it's just 2 healers with juggler now. So I honestly wasn't worried about losing at this point, so I keep pushing in aggressively. Right? I now have Deedlit Gospel up herself, so that she can hit harder. And in the meantime, I now have Bozo toss out a black hole on the enemies. And Black Hole was also able to silence this juggler, which was a big bonus for me, because now this juggler can no longer reactivate Trading, at least for this turn. So I took some more damage due to a poison being one of the debuffs, and Deedlit moving up, getting to act again, refreshed Elven Aura, and allowed her to Elven Aura down the enemy juggler, forcing Zerosaki to retreat. Honestly speaking, even if that attack failed to kill Juggler, I wasn't worried about this fight anymore, because as I mentioned, it was 4 against 3, and he had no real damage dealers anymore, so there was no way for him to actually kill my characters. Even if I couldn't kill his characters, he certainly could not have killed mine. So that was the third battle, which shows, Deedlit's power and how Deedlit can sometimes be very weak if you attack with her at 2 range. And the last battle that I'm going to cover will be the battle against 2020 that I lost. So here we go. So in this battle, I'm going to show the rush box of 2020. This was actually quite interesting. I really underestimated Yusuke in particular here. So I start by banning the enemy Estelle, right, trying to remove the mobility buffing. And I play Landius since my juggler was banned. I lose Deedlit and Dehartal here, right, and juggler is played for 2020. I ban Liana and Iris now, getting rid of Act Again and teleporting forward, and I play Zerda. So Liana and Wilder are banned, 2 of my healers, okay? So, and 2020 plays Yusuke at this point. So I now ban Leonhard and Sakura, right? Characters who can really benefit from Yusuke. And I play Iris, my only remaining healer. Next, Listel and Hiei are banned. And 2020 plays Ares. So I now ban Zerda and Luna, mobility buffer in Luna, Zerda because she's a high mobility assassin. And I play Bozel. And now I lose Leon. I lose Omega and Yusuke. So my enemy now surprisingly plays Bozel. I didn't really expect that. So I get rid of Claret and Listel, leaving him with Leon or Matthew. And I choose to play Luna for a mobility buff. And on his side, he chooses to play Matthew. So this, looking at it now, letting him play Matthew was a big mistake. And the big, well, you'll see why, but this Matthew has Sprint, Sword of Destruction, and Gale. So he's activating buffs right now, and I'm just kind of holding back, but setting up in a way to protect Zerda. So once again, I have the Bozel for faction buffing my Zerda, who is going to be a Bloodthirster version, and here Matthew sprints up his party. On my side, I have Luna use Wind God Realm and then move up a bit to faction buff. So the Wind God Realm is so that Zerda can get extra mobility for attacking. And the enemy charges forward, Wind Whisper, Teleport on Zerda, and then another AoE, which doesn't do all that much to Zerda as a result. So, in the meantime, I just teleport my Zerda a little bit forward by giving her, the Legenda Iris buffs. So, once again, Zerda takes the AoE hit without any issue, and I have Zerda assassinate Ares very quickly. So, at this point, Zerda's brought back to full health and moves back. Black Hole is tossed out on my party, and the only reason that Black Hole hit me was because of Sprint, right? So I really underestimated the utility of Flyer Matthew. Nonetheless, Mass Heal. Now, fortunately, I didn't get any cannot be healed debuffs, so all my characters were able to get healing. But Juggler still had Beast Shock to strike me with, and so Landius dies for the first time. I then put the enemy Juggler to sleep. And now, after Sprint, Matthew uses Sword of Destruction, Sword Dance, and now my Landius got applied with Cannot Be Healed. Actually, all three of my characters got applied with Cannot Be Healed. And now Yusuke charges up, right? Keep in mind that Yusuke got extra mobility due to Sprint as well, and activates his Psychic Eruption state. So we see here that it has 6 mobility Yusuke. So Matthew is then able to attack and take down my Landius. And then Matthew, the Sword of Destruction Matthew, killed off my Bozal as well. So the double attack Matthew really smashing through me. So for now, I take out Bozal with my Luna, who is already damaged. And Yusuke runs up and strikes down my Zerda. Right? So that high mobility Yusuke. Okay. In this case, the Sprint did so. The only reason it was able to move that far to attack my Zerda, once again, was because of Sprint, right? If he was one tile back, like here, and he didn't have Sprint, it would be 5 mobility from here. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 would have placed him here. Then he could have attacked Iris, but not Zerda. So unfortunately, once again, the Sprint making a difference, and same with Matthew being able to attack twice. So massively underestimated the power of Matthew. Nonetheless, I have my Iris range attack the enemy Matthew and take it down. And at this point, it is 2 against 3, where one of the enemies is the Sword of Destruction Matthew. So I currently run back, and at this point, I am outside of all the enemy ranges. So, and I've tried to retreat Luna, right? My opponent then sacrifices Sword of Destruction Matthew so that Yusuke triggers, right? Erupt in anger and all that stuff, right? So, triggers anger, right? His talent provides anger. So plus 10% to all stats, and plus 1 unit range and plus 1 mobility. So suddenly I no longer have so with that sacrifice, my Luna can't escape anymore. And in addition, I had moved my Luna so far back that I actually couldn't attack this Yusuke either. So I tried to attack this Yusuke to reduce its mobility with my Iris, right? -2 mobility. But despite that, it still has 3 range. So it could still move up and kill off my Luna. And that was it for the battle. So ultimately, I completely underestimated the power of Matthew. Right? Matthew did so much in this fight. The sprint, the Sword of Destruction, which and then Sword Dance, followed up by Matthew attacking, and then the Sword of Destruction Matthew attacking, which killed off both Landius and Yusuke. Sorry, killed off Landius and my Bozel. And then the Sword of Destruction Matthew sacrificed, allowing Yusuke to attack yet again. So, if I had banned Yusuke and left, let's say, Leon in the mix or whatever, would have went much better for me than the ban that I chose. But that was a good lesson to learn. You know, I really cannot underestimate Flyer Matthew. And those are the battles that I wanted to cover in this video. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. And on that note, Nitro out.